A pleasure to meet all at last. And, believe it or not, 5 more episodes. Yep. Starting now, I'm officially counting down to the last episode of I Found It First. What am I going to do for these next 5 episodes? Well, I'm going to throw in the towel by just giving a random array of 2025 clips that I have made throughout this whole year. So, being that we're entering September, it's fair to say that with a lot of history that I've made this year, why not share a few clips? For this instance, let's go on back to the railroads. Rail fanning was, of course, pretty big throughout 2025. And in that sense, why don't we go on ahead and showcase one clip that I took at Pleasant Hill. And well, this is, believe it or not the first time that I have made a clip of that exact crossing in Pleasant Hill Road. That, of course, is, once again, the Canadian National Waukesha subdivision, originally part of the Wisconsin Central line, owned by the Wisconsin Central Limited, which was previously occupied by the Soo line, and, of course, an older rendition of Wisconsin Central. That was way back in the day, in the 1880s and 90s. But of course, one other time that I was at Pleasant Hill and I recorded a train run was, of course, a Wisconsin and Southern Manifest that was actually heading southbound. And that, of course, was a few years prior. But to be fair with you, in this instance, I will say that being a little more recent as opposed to something that happened a few years ago, a lot has happened. But it does seem that with CN and WSOR being 2 big railroads of the state that have run through that crossing, and more importantly, through the subdivision itself, I myself have had a lot of old memories of that place. That line in particular, the leg that I've been known to cover goes as far south as Pewaukee and as far to the north as Allenton, a good distance of around 30 miles north and south. So you could say, while I have greatly mapped out the subdivision to those exact points and those minute details, I'm sure that I will eventually have to start exploring elsewhere and finding other lines in particular to go through. I have checked out the Union Pacific Adams subdivision, formerly owned by Chicago and Northwestern. I have, of course, checked out Ross Rowland and R.J. Corman clips that, believe it or not, showcase the CNW Adams subdivision from way back in the day, when Chicago and Northwestern used to run passenger trains through the likes of Landon and Sussex. And that was pretty unique. But then, of course, there was also the Milwaukee Road, which ran on what is now Canadian Pacific Kansas City property. But still, the amount of history that I've gotten to know about those 3 lines alone, I guess the one real question is there ever going to be a point where all 3 railroads converge? All 3 of those lines come together? You got CN going north and south for the most part, CPKC heading east and west, and UP doing the same thing. I feel like that another big thing that we could note here is that I'm familiar with something that's been going on lately. A merger between Union Pacific and Norfolk Southern. There's a lot of confliction on that whole thing though. Maybe Norfolk Southern can finally be put in its place by a company as experienced as Union Pacific. By buying them out, UP could probably settle all this East Palestine stuff and many other controversies that Norfolk Southern's been through. You could say it's had a pretty solid reputation. But if NS is not around anymore, or part of another company that has more experience cleaning up after themselves, and more importantly, with a goal in mind to make the United States railroading system even bigger and better, what could you possibly lose from this? Well, you know what? I feel like it's better left off until it actually takes place. So, if you want to see more go down to my channel, then make sure to like, subscribe, comment, follow me wherever you can find me, and stay on the Hollywood side for more.